Guys, so I just got back from like 4 mile walk. I do 4 miles every night before I go to bed. And earlier someone asked me to specify the difference between a soulmate and a twin flame. So if you guys don't know, yes, I'm on a twin flame journey, and all I can do is just kind of give you examples of what I've experienced as far as my twin flame connection compared to a soulmate connection. So long story short, a twin flame is it. It's not just one thing. I'm going to give you an example of what my twin flame journey is. There are many different twin flame journeys. It can be, so it's basically one soul inhabiting two bodies. My twin flame is male. He is a divine masculine. I am a divine feminine. He's older than me. What happens is we all come from God. We're all a product of God. We're all a product of love. And what happens is God takes one soul and splits it into two, making either a divine feminine, which is female, or a divine masculine. Also, twin flames, from what I hear, can be two females or two males. I also have heard that twin flames can be brother and sister, mother and daughter, father and son, mother and son. That to me seems a little bit weird. I mean, I don't know. I can understand twin flames being two females that are gay. I can understand that because technically it's romantic at the end of the day. Or two males that are gay. As far as brother and sister, I could see that, but it wouldn't be on a romantic, obviously, it wouldn't be romantic. As far as mother and daughter, I don't see that necessarily. I mean, I guess it could work, but at the end of the day, long story short, twin flames are here to heal. Twin flames are light workers. We're here to heal. We come from divine source. We come from God. We come from, they call it the blue fire, the blue flame, the white light. And we are chosen to strictly be on a mission. We come down here to work. We come down here to heal. We come down here depending on your journey. Now, my journey is the self-love journey, to heal to heal generational curses, to learn karmic lessons, to learn self-love. That's my journey. There are other people who are twin flames who have a whole different contract. So I'll just talk about mine because it's what I've experienced. I met my twin 14 years ago, and I'm adopted, and I came from my biological parents. I don't know who they are. I think I have a picture of my mom and a picture of my dad, but I don't know them personally. I was adopted at a very young age. The family that I was adopted into, I love them, but they're extremely toxic. Toxic. So my whole journey is to heal generational curses, whether it's bad eating habits, bad credit, not learning how to save money, addictions to drinking, addictions to food, addictions to drugs, whatever. The list goes on forever. So God placed me in this family, an adopted family, with a ton of really toxic, addictive behaviors that I had to break free from. So as far as the twin flame journey, I did not know I was a twin for a very long time. Long story short, I think other people knew there was something different about me. I've always been different. I always felt different. Like, I remember sitting down and telling my mom at 8 years old, I don't want to have kids. I remember this vividly. And what 8-year-old is even thinking about kids? Like, I just told my mom, I sat down and I was like, yeah, you know I'm not having kids, right? My mom was like, yeah, you are. Like, you'll change your mind, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no. I remember being dead set, looking her in the eye, like, I'm not here for that. Like, I knew at 8 years old. And you know how they say, like, kids know at, like, 6 or 7 or 8 that they're gay? Well, I knew at 8 I was not having kids, and I'm almost 40. There are no kids to be found. So I kind of knew at a younger age that my path was different. My mom, who was not my biological mom, she adopted me, knew I was a twin. She absolutely knew. She used to talk to me all the time and sit me down and be like, twins run in our family, and always talk about twins. It was weird. My nephews, my sister, again, remember, we're talking about an adopted family. So when I say my sister, it means, I was adopted. My sister had a set of twins. And I just remember my mom always being like, yeah, twins. And she made it a point to always tell me that twins ran in our family, as if I'm like, okay, like I don't have twins. But my mom knew I was a twin. I did not know. So she would sit me down and like hammer this twin conversation in my head like 6 times a year. And I would just sit and look at her like, because I had no idea what she was talking about, but she knew. My mom always knew. Always, always, always knew. She always knew I was on the spiritual journey and that I was a twin and that my path was different. I remember specifically my mom being very hard on me, like, wake up, work hard, make sure you take care of yourself. She was always like drilling that I loved myself and took care of myself. So my dad was a narcissist, adopted dad, remember, drug user. He would disappear for months at a time. And my poor adopted mom, who was not married to him, they divorced. They had one child and then divorced. She'd always be left with a mess in her lap because I call him a weekend dad, in and out, toxic. He would come into our lives and just turn everybody's life upside down. We had a really beautiful home. My mom always kept a beautiful home and it was always very peaceful and tranquil. And then he would come and just completely upset everyone and destroy everything and then leave. And he did that probably... Sorry, my nose is itching. He did that probably 6 times a year. Like, he made it a point to make sure my mom never felt safe. She was never happy. She could never heal. He made it a point to make sure that she was always living in fear. He made it a point to make sure that her life was going to be a living hell. Basically, that's just what it came down to. And for a long time, I carried a lot of anger. Like, Mom, why weren't you stronger than that? Why were you always trying to save someone who didn't want to be saved? Unfortunately, he would disappear for months and go on these drug benders, and like his car would come up stolen, or someone would shoot up the side of his car. It was just a whole hot ass warmed over mess. It was just a fucking disgusting, embarrassing mess. This man would just destroy my mom every chance he got. And I never understood why she couldn't just walk away. Never understood it. But anyways, long story short, in the midst of, I want to say like my early 20s, I ended up having to move in with my dad. My mom moved out of state, and I had to move in with my dad. And before I moved in with my dad, I met my twin. He and I had just started dating. No, we were dating. Just started dating, and then I had to move in with my dad. And my dad being a heavy drug user. And the thing is I'd never had any kind of experience with drugs, especially heavy drugs. I lived with my mom, who was like a church-going saint who was just a light worker, an amazing woman. I just had my baby, Sage. Monkey. Anyways, so my first real experience with like hard drugs was with my dad, and I didn't know the characteristics. I didn't know anything about it, so I didn't know what to look out for. Long story short, he was a heavy drug user. He started to make my life a living hell, and I got to a point where for my safety, I had to leave. Like, I had to leave the state. So I ended up moving to San Diego, and my dad called me on a daily basis, harassing me, leaving me just really hurtful, disgusting voicemails because I basically like ghosted him. And because my dad was so toxic and abusive, that meant not only did I have to leave my home and my dad, that meant I had to move away from my twin flame too. So I ended up having to leave, and my mom moved back to California, and I moved in with my mom. That was a whole hell of a hot fucking mess. They were broke, toxic. My sister's she's the oldest. She's always been the kind of girl that like my mom had to hold her hand through life, and a narcissist. Basically, she's my dad in female form, and my mom had to fucking babysit her whole life. So, long story short, I stayed with my mom for like 3 months, and I ended up leaving and moving to the state of Washington. And I ended up being there for like 8 years. And I had to do it because my mom and I did not have a good relationship at this point. I just had so much disgust for my mom because my sister was just an abuser and a user and was using my mom and was always looking for handouts from my mom. And my mom's retired. She should be enjoying her life and traveling. And my mom would always tell me how many dreams she had of traveling, and because my sister just couldn't get it together, it kind of destroyed my mom's dreams. Long story short. So I ended up going to Washington, and that year so I ended up going to Washington for my own sanity because we just had a really toxic family dynamic, and my dad died the year I went to Washington. He overdosed on drugs. Which was kind of a blessing in disguise. Like, I hate to say that, but it was kind of like a relief. Like, finally we all get to breathe. Like, this man just, he just completely just destroyed everybody's lives. I don't really know how to explain it, but it was kind of a relief. I ended up in Washington. I ended up staying there for 8 years. The first couple of years, I was going through spiritual awakenings. I would have dreams. I always had dreams that I was chasing my twin. I had dreams that I was like running after him. Running. And for years, I had these dreams on a regular basis that I was running after him. And I'm like running through buildings. I'm running through apartments. I'm just running after this man. And then I had a dream one night that he was living with a black girl who looked like me, and he was in a relationship with a black girl. And these dreams just kept coming, and like he just kept popping into my head, and these dreams just would not stop. These fucking dreams that were so vivid. And so one day I get on Google because it's just getting more and more intense, and I'm like, something's going on here. I don't know what. But I'm dreaming about this man every night, and I'm dreaming that I'm chasing him, and it just was the weirdest thing. I get on Google, I Google his name, and I find his phone number, which I had at one point, but, being gone for 4 or 5 years at this point, I didn't have anymore. So I Googled it, and I found his number, and I texted him, and I was just like, why am I dreaming about you? I just basically, it was very, random, but he knew who I was, and I was just like, well, why am I dreaming about you all the time? And he just kind of was like, yeah, gotcha. And I was like, huh? And we talked and kind of started talking again here and there. It was sporadic. It wasn't anything like major, but we would talk here and there. And at this point, so I was probably in the last tail end of my relationship with my karmic, the ex. And I was falling out of love with my ex. There was just nothing that was dwindling. Like, I just was inching towards the door, which I think my twin could feel and knew. And I remember distinctly one day, because twins are really psychic, laying in bed with my ex, and in my mind's eye seeing very, 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 very clearly my twin looking at me, like popping in. So he was using his intuition to see what I was doing. And I just remember it plain as day in my mind's eye. I saw him floating up above my bed, and I was like, huh? Like, it was weird. Like, I saw it in my mind's eye, and I knew it was him. And I've always had dreams about him, especially his face. I've always seen his face so clearly and so vividly. And I could always feel him tapping into my energy and checking in on me. So, long story short, I think he knew. At this point, my ex and I moved out of the master bedroom, and I was working my way, inching my way out of the relationship, because I didn't know what else to, like, I was done. And, I was trying to slowly exit stage left, and my twin basically came in and was like, through telepathy and through our psychic connection, our bond was like, you're trapped, honey. Like, you got to figure it out. And I was just kind of like, and when he said that, it made total sense. In a sense, I was trapped. I knew I was trapped. He knew I was trapped. The karmic person that trapped me knew I was trapped. And I knew I didn't want to be there. I just didn't know how to get out of it. Like, I was wriggling my way out, but I couldn't figure it out on my own. I didn't have the strength to be like, I'm out of here. You know what I mean? It was scary when you live with someone for 4 years. And keep in mind, I've never had a stable home. Growing up, my mom moved us around a lot. Like, we struggled because she was a single parent and my adopted dad was useless. And like, my mom struggled a lot. And so I never had a stable home really. And so for me, it was scary from having a stable home. Yeah, it was chaotic as hell. It was a fucking circus, but it was scary for me to get back out there on my own because I was so used to. And when you're in a karmic relationship, my ex was really codependent and would drill in my head that you'll never survive without me. Like, you'll never be okay without me. You'll never live without me. If you leave me, you'll die. And I was just kind of like, weird, but you start to believe it after a while. And so it was scary for me to get back out there because I was so used to being with someone. So I knew the right thing was for me to move on. My ex, the karmic ex, knew that I was inching towards the door. And that's when my twin kind of inched back into my life. My mom passed away and I was working with a doctor who was crazy psychic, like master manifester. Basically sparked all of my spiritual awakenings and helped me get the fuck out of that relationship. They gave me the strength. Like, the doctor I worked with, all of my coworkers gave me the strength to get out of that relationship. God sent me to actually, I'm going to be honest, my twin sent me to them to help me get unstuck. And it's funny because when I worked with this doctor, okay, so let me rewind. I lived in the city of, I'm going to say Los Angeles. I'm going to say Hollywood. I'm going to say Hollywood, North Hollywood. I'm not going to give you the actual city I live in. I'm just not going to. So North Hollywood. Let's say before I moved to Washington, and when I met my twin, I lived in North Hollywood. I moved to Washington. I'm working with this doctor who's sparking all my spiritual awakenings. I'm starting to connect with God. I'm starting to like clear karma. This girl moved from North Hollywood on the same street I lived on when I lived in California to where I was working in Washington. And I was like, wait a second. If that don't scream my twin is sending people after me to bring my ass home, I don't know what does. I know for a fact this girl was sent to come get me. I know she was. She's still there. I'm now back home in North Hollywood. And yeah, so anyways, so basically my twin, who is powerful as fuck, was doing everything he could do, was calling in reinforcements to get my ass home. He's like, it's been 8 years, bring your ass home, it's time. And he wasn't going to stop until he got me home. E.g., I'm home. So, so the difference between a soulmate is, yes, you have a deep connection, but it's only surface level, if that makes any sense. It only goes to a certain depth. With a twin flame, when you're around a soulmate, you're happy, you feel good, life is great. When you're around your twin, you feel it in every cell of your body. You get hot flashes, you get chills. It's like someone ignites a fire and every part of you just comes alive. You dream about them. You are connected through telepathy. You also cycle through different energies. So my twin is the opposite sign of me. So if I was earth, he would be air. Or if I'm water, he would be fire. Or if I'm fire, he would be water. So what happens is when we cycle through our energies, I can physically in my body feel like all the things. Like I can feel, well, he's a fire sign. So, and I'm a water sign. So when we're cycling through our energies, I get hot. Woo! Like, it's like hot flashes. Oh, my baby, I love you, kitten. I get hot flashes and I just start to like whoosh, and I can feel my body get really hot, and then my face also changes too. My face becomes more masculine when I'm in my masculine. And I look exactly like him. Like, I look like him anyways, like face shape, forehead, whatever. But like when I'm in my masculine, my whole face changes. My voice gets deeper. I'm like burning up. I tend to get a little moody. We're working on that. But yeah, so that's how you know the difference between a twin flame and a soulmate. When you meet your twin flame, everything in your life will completely go to shit. Let's just say that much, because it has to break down so you can rebuild it. It's all about healing. The twin flame journey is strictly healing. At the end of it, do you get your ultimate soulmate, twin flame, the man of your dreams, your lover, the best sex you'll ever have, the most unconditional love you've ever felt, all of the feels? Yes, but you have to do the work. And after you come back, into unity with them, the work doesn't end. There's karma you gotta clear. And the longer that you quote unquote run, I didn't even know I was running. I had no idea I was running. I literally thought I moved to Washington to build a better life for myself, because living in California fucking sucked. Like, it was toxic, my family was toxic. I was just trying to get away from my family. Like, to be honest, I wanted to get as far away from my family as I could so I could have peace, is why I left. But I guess technically I was running. So there's karma that comes with that. When you run, quote unquote, you have to repay karma, because rightfully you should be with your twin. But when you're running and you're not with your twin, you build negative karma. So now that I'm back, yes, I am clearing karma, and whatever, I'm not going into detail with that. But yeah, that's basically the difference between a twin flame. When you meet your twin flame, it's going to shake you up. You're going to feel it in every part of your body. You're going to dream about them. Your spiritual gifts are going to, activate. You're going to have spiritual awakenings. You're going to have anxiety, depression. You're going to reanalyze your whole life. Like, you're going to, literally, be like, okay, what am I doing with my life? What am I doing with myself? I want better. I want to heal traumatic wounds. It makes you want to be a better person. It makes you want to heal, and in my situation, after I met my twin, I lost everything. Like, all my family members, I lost my car, I lost my job, I lost my everything. Because it was time for me to grow. It was time for me to clear karma, learn to love myself, realize that everything I did and said made a difference. My spiritual awakening started, which meant my empathy started. So my spiritual gift started, my psychic ability started, my sensitivity started. All of the things, basically all of the things. So that's the best example I have of the difference between a twin flame and a soulmate. A soulmate is someone you go out to lunch with and you laugh and have fun, and a twin flame is someone who you meet and they ignite a whole passion in your soul, in your universe. They change your whole existence, and you feel it in every cell of your body. You fall madly, deeply in love with them. From the sound of their voice, to the way that they smell, to their hands, their eyes. That too. When you look at a soulmate, yeah, you feel admiration, you feel good, but when you look in your twin's eyes, they see down to the depths of your soul. I remember distinctly, every time I looked into my twin's eyes or he looked at me, it almost stopped me in my tracks. I'd be like, bleh. Like, I could feel him looking into me. Not looking at me or looking through me. Looking into me. Like, I know you. Like, I know who you are, and I've known you for many lifetimes. So when someone... Oh my God, I'm gonna get emotional. The way that he looks at me, it's like he looks into my heart, my soul. He knows who I am. And there's no judgment. It's weird. He sees all of the scars, and he sees the trauma and the hurt and the things that need to be healed. But he doesn't see that. He looks straight into my heart and soul. That's what he sees. And so there have been many times where he looked at me and my whole body just like I felt a jolt of like, oh my God, like lightning, like not in a bad way, but like my whole body just kind of reacted when he would look at me. It's wild. It's wild. You'll crave your twin. You literally will crave like a crackhead. Like, not like you're like scratching and fiending, but like you will crave your twin physically. You'll crave their voice. You'll crave their touch. You'll crave everything. Like, everything. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Do the work. There are going to be days where you wake up and you feel like, okay, we're moving forward. I'm seeing progress and it all feels good. And then there's going to be days where God takes the wind out of your sails and you're going to feel like, what the hell am I doing and what's going on? And you're going to feel stagnant, and there may be months, 3 to 6 months to a year of you feeling stagnant. But you have to remember why you're here. And remember that divine timing is a real thing. It's a real thing. You may think that you're ready and you may be like, all right. But if the world isn't ready for the vibration that will happen when you two come back together, then it's not time. If your twin still has things to heal, whether it's addictions or, heartbreak or toxic habits, then it's not time. And I notice the more that I am okay with not knowing, or I mean, I do know, everybody knows, but like okay with not stressing, okay with being in flow, just be in flow. And there's going to be many times where you're going to have to release your twin. More than anything, you're going to want to hang on to everything, every word, every text, you're going to want to call them, you're going to want to obsess over them and text them, but you have to. There's going to be many times where you're going to have to release and release and release again and release again and let your twin go again. And every time, just know that every time you go through these crazy, weird things, whether it's releasing your twin, whether it's your twin getting in a relationship with a karmic, you just have to let these things happen and know that every time you're getting closer and closer, So that's kind of my comparison. And that's the example I can give you as far as a twin compared to a soulmate. And it is, yes, it is a very healing journey. Being on the twin flame journey is all about healing. But after you do the work, you get the ultimate gift of, unconditional love. But you have to remember, it's not about you loving your twin. It's about you loving yourself. You and your twin are the same. The more you love yourself, the more your twin will be drawn to you. The more you do the work and worry about yourself, the more your twin will want to be with you. The more you do your positive affirmations, you do yoga, you meditate and love yourself, the more God will bring your twin to you. Once you stop chasing and start attracting, your twin will show up. Once you stop chasing and start loving on yourself, your twin will show up. Keep in mind, there's no time limit. You can't put a finger on when. It'll happen when it's supposed to. It all lines up, and I promise you. The thing is, people want to rush this journey and rush back to their twin. You can't rush forever. You can't rush perfection. God doesn't want twins coming back together just for them to separate. That's the last thing God wants. God wants these twins to come together, to be together for lifetimes. So the conditions have to be perfect. It's like splitting an atom. You know what I mean? You know how hard it is to split an effing atom? How perfect the conditions have to be? Everything has to be perfect. That's the same as the twin flame journey. It's literally a relationship built on unconditional love, loving yourself, loving God. It's a spirit, first and foremost, it's a spiritual relationship. It's a relationship in the 5D. People want to see all of these things in the 3D. Why isn't he calling me? Why isn't he texting me? Why aren't we at dinner? It's not a 3D relationship. It's a spiritual relationship. What does that mean? That means meditating, yoga, positive affirmations, becoming unified in the 5D before you can be unified in the 3D. Which means you have to continue to heal, love yourself, work on your spirituality, clear karma. That's a huge one. People don't realize that 99.9% of twins coming back together is clearing karma. The longer you run, the more karma you're going to have to clear. And karma just means lessons. God's not going to bring twins back together if one can't be faithful. If there's one that can't figure out how to not sleep around, that's karma. That's considered karma. Having to learn those lessons. God can't bring twins back together if one's broke and has an addiction to spending or has an addiction to drinking. So all of these things have to be cleared. Those lessons have to be learned before twins can come back together. So I recommend not obsessing. I don't even watch Twinflame like I used to, and I used to watch Twinflame tarot card readings. I just don't anymore. When you get to a place where you're not obsessing and you don't want to know their every single move, that's when you know you're getting closer. I'm focused on myself. I've completely stopped watching Twinflame tarot card readings. I just don't care. Because it's all, it's all relative to each person's journey. I think it's good to educate yourself. I think it's good to Google and figure out, how to clear karma, how to chant. Chanting is a great way to heal. If you chant Om, you'll clear karma more quickly. It helps you jump timelines, and it helps bring up things that need to be cleared. So chant Om, but don't overdo it because it could be a little crazy. And balance, just balance. So I hope that helps. I love you guys. Love, light, healing. Lastly, we are here, twins, people who are on the spiritual path, especially twins. We're healers. We're here to heal. So open up a YouTube channel, learn tarot, do yoga, learn how to energy heal, because